Hello again. So in the last video we pretty much did a good portion of the palm. We did a nice good portion of the thumb. So today what we're going to start working on is the top of the hand. So kind of like the top portion of the palm a little bit more, and some of the fingers. So one of the things I'm going to do is I don't really like this geometry up here, and it's going to be deleted anyway at some point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these top 4 faces. I'm going to hold shift period. What that will do is it will select the next ring of faces around it. If you ever want to undo that or go a set lower, you could hit shift comma. So I'm going to select those and I'm going to delete them. This way I have a nice open hole for when I start creating my fingers. I'm then going to go into my front view, and we can start adjusting our vertices yet again. These I get a little more specific with their location, because they are going to be essentially where my palm is going to be set up. So I'm going to just try to move these the best as I can and really just kind of push them into their nice areas. So let's bring that over there. That looks good there. That looks pretty good there. So all I'm doing is really just moving them around to kind of fit the top of the palm by the fingers. So everything's looking pretty nicely there. And a lot of this is going to be essentially taking these vertices, moving them to different places, stuff like that. And the way we go about doing it in a specific way is just to kind of really get those details. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put an edge loop in our thumb just to kind of give it some more details. So what I'll do is I'll kind of take a look at my thumb right now, and I'm going to go to Mesh Tools. I'm going to insert an edge loop pretty much halfway between the top portion of the thumb and about halfway in the lower portion of the thumb. This is just going to give me a nice amount of geometry to work with, and it kind of helps in how I move things around and just gets a nice shape together. So I'm just going to be moving them just like that. I'll go bring that over there. That's going to go right there. And all is just a lot of reshaping. So that looks pretty good. And let's just take a look at it in perspective view, see how it's going that way. Yeah, everything's looking pretty nice. I think I want to shape this part a little bit better. Bring that over there. And yeah, it's looking good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert an edge loop in the front of our palm, just so we have a little bit more geometry there in shaping out the front. So it might be a little tough to see exactly where I'm putting it. So I'm going to show it in the 4 different views just so you can see exactly where it's going. So I'm going to put it right here in this big gap. And what I'll use that for essentially is to kind of just shape out the palm a little bit more, kind of give it a little bit more dimension. And if you look at your own palm, you kind of see how it has like a little bit of a dip on the inside, and that's kind of start creating that portion of your palm. I'm also going to put one on the other side, so I'm going to look at it from the back view. So there's the first one I put, just so you can use that as a reference. I'm going to put another one right here. And these edge loops are just going to be giving us a nice amount of geometry on both sides of the hand, so that when I'm starting to work with it and work on like creating the palm and the fingers, we have a lot of geometry to work with, but not too much that it's going to really get in the way. So what I could do now is I could kind of go in, I'm going to take this edge loop, and I could start adjusting that as I need. So like if I want to bring that inwards more, that way if I round my thumb out, it kind of has that dimension to it. So just a little bit of smoothness right in there. And if I work on the geometry right here more. So if I take like these and bring them over this way to kind of follow that natural curve of the hand, it'll be a lot more defined and a lot nicer to work with. So I got that all set up pretty well. Let me just kind of adjust these more. That looks good. I think I might take these vertices right here and I'm going to bring them over just to kind of round that out a little bit better. We'll see how that looks. Let's see. All I'm doing right now is just kind of mentally looking through my hand. Actually, no, I'm not going to move those. Do I want to move those? No, we don't need to move them. What I'll probably end up doing is inserting another edge loop here if I need it when I do create the fingers. But I'll probably do that now, actually. So let's go, pop an edge loop right there. And then as we're working on it, so 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it should work pretty nicely. I am probably going to spread these out a little bit more later on, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So, now that we have a good portion of our palm done, it's time to just start making our finger. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to create a new cube. I'm going to go into the front view, go like that. I'm going to scale it. I'm going to go for roughly the length of the pinky. It's not going to really matter too much, just enough to really get the idea for it. After that, I'll move it to where it's connecting. That's kind of important, because we obviously want to have it in a good spot. And I'm also going to rotate it from the top view just so it's kind of going along that curve. And now we can start working on our pinky. So what I'll do is I'm going to go into face mode. I'm going to delete this face right here. That way we have a hole for connecting the pinky to the actual hand itself. And I'm going to insert 2 edge loops. So I'm going to try to split this as evenly as I can. Again, it doesn't really matter because we're going to be moving these vertices quite frequently. But just having a nice rough idea on where they are is going to make things a lot easier to work with. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take, let me just bring this over to my side view so it's a little easier to see. I'm going to go take my pinky itself. I'm going to bring it back just a little bit more. I'm going to select the top face of my pinky, so that one right there. And I'm going to use my move and rotate tool just to kind of start setting up the location of where that pinky is. And that way we just kind of have a nice guide for it. So I'm just going to bring this to the tip of the pinky. And bring it over that way a bit. And now for the rest of this, we're going to use the new geometry we made with the edge loops to really kind of set up where everything's going. So this edge loop right here is essentially going to be where our joint is in our pinky. So if we look at it right here, this bend, that's going right there. So I'm going to take these vertices right here, bring them over there. These right here are going to go up there. And I'm going to do the next set. Actually, let me do the inner ones first because they're a little easier for people to see. So that's going right around there. And then next ones are going, it's a little tough to see, but right about there. And this way, our pinky is kind of shaped out nicely. And we can kind of just start adding the details that we need to it. So one of the things we're going to end up doing is I'm just going to kind of set it up and move these vertices a little bit better in the other view. So now we got that. Oops. I'll go to my front view. I'll take those vertices on the bottom, and I'm just going to move them roughly into place so that they fit a little bit nicer to my pinky. So I'm just going in like that. I'll bring these inwards more. This whole face I'm going to just scale down so it's a little bit better. All I'm really doing is just taking my geometry that I already have and setting it up for my pinky shape. So that looks pretty good. Might want to go in as a vertex and just kind of round this out a little bit better. That's looking pretty nice. And I'm just going to be kind of working on this as I'm going along. All I'm doing is just adjusting it a little bit more so it kind of fits the correct angle. And let's see. That all looks good. Let me bring this out a little bit more. I'm going to be adjusting this a lot anyway, but it's just kind of good to have. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put an edge loop down the center of my pinky. So I'm going to go put that right there. That's just going to give me a little bit more definition when I want to create the actual shape of the pinky itself. So in the end, like, this piece is going to help round out our pinky from the sides. So I'll take these and I'm just going to kind of bring them inwards a little bit, bring the other ones inwards a little bit, just like that, and you can see as it rounds out the finger shape. So I'm just going in like that, like that. That looks good. I'll do the same on the other side. So I'm just kind of pulling them in like so, and that's just going to be defining the shape of my pinky more, rounding it up nicer than it would if I just rounded it off, just like that. And this also kind of allows me to have a little bit more of a rounded, nice fingertip. So I can just go in, adjust those, and that's just going to round the fingertips a little bit better later on. Okay. Outside of that, we could go in and adjust it on the ends right here. So I can take this vertex, pull it out a little bit more. This one I'll pull this out a little bit more, and just going to round it nicely. And all this is just doing is really adding that extra definition that we need for our project or for our hand. One of the things I like to mention is it's always good to kind of create different body parts separately. So like in this case, I could show how to create a whole arm or a whole body, but we're only creating a hand because a hand is something you use pretty frequently when modeling characters, and they don't change too drastically. So it's always good to kind of create these base meshes of your character hands, things like that, because it's just going to allow you to have a lot more kind of like detail that you could work with. So let's just say you're making 5 different characters. There's no reason to make 5 different hands, because that's just going to make life a lot more difficult for you. Because in the end, like, you're going to be creating them over and over again. So it's nice to have like a little bank of body parts in order to just kind of get your projects done faster. So next thing I'm going to do is we're going to add more geometry to this finger, just to kind of make more details. So I'm going to go insert edge loop right here, roughly where I want to put the fingernail, and I'm going to put one edge loop kind of below the other 2 edge loops I created before. And these edge loops are going to be very important. The first one we put is going to help define the nail later on. The rest of them are really there for shaping out more of the knuckle. And you'll see that come into play in a little bit. All I'm doing right now is just kind of shaping this out a little bit better to kind of go with my reference photo a little bit more. So like these, I'm just going to bring out more that way. Bring more that way. So what you're going to want to do is we're going to leave, let me just go into front view, perspective view. We're going to leave these pretty close together, but at the top of it, we're going to want to spread them out more. So what I mean is I'm going to take these vertices and I kind of want to spread them out more like that. And the reason why I want to do that is it's going to help with the bending of the skin. So as we kind of like spread them out towards the top and have it close together, it's going to give us a nice set of creases for our pinky. So in this case, what I'm doing is just kind of moving these out a little bit, giving it a lot of space, because if you bend your pinky, for example, that might have been a little too far, the skin on the top of your finger stretches while you crease it right here. So this is going to help kind of define that stretching of the skin, while here is going to help create that crease. So if I look at it right now, you kind of see it forming right there. I'm going to do the same on the top part of this one. So I'm just kind of defining these knuckles a little bit more. Bring these out a little bit. Don't have to go too far with those. It's the top portion that's the most important ones. So that's just going to go like that. That's going to go like that. That looks pretty good. And we just kind of go with it. So the next thing I'm going to really do is just kind of like define a little bit more of the shapes for it. So in order to do that, what I'm really just going to end up doing is kind of moving these vertices around. And then once I finish this finger will go on to the rest of the hand. So now that I have this kind of done, I'm just going to look at it from many different views, kind of pick and choose different vertices to really just adjust them a bit to go with my reference more. That looks pretty good. These not lining up perfectly is okay. Let me take these. Just kind of get those a little bit better positioned. That'll go there a little bit more. This will go there more. The rest of this looks pretty good. I will kind of add a little bit more of like an artistic flair in the bending of it. So I'll kind of just like move these a bit, rotate them a bit, and that's just going to kind of give us a little bit more of a natural bend in our finger. So I'll go rotate this just like that. That looks pretty good. Let me fix up this vertex. So I don't really like the way that looks. And that's looking like a pretty dang good finger. Alright. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the fingernail. And the easiest way to do that is I'm going to select the top two faces right here in the section where we made our fingernail. And I'm going to work with a series of extrusions to really build it out. So each fingernail is going to be different depending on how long you want it. So in certain areas you'll kind of adjust it to your own character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go create an extrusion. I'm going to click on this box right here. I'm going to scale inwards. And that's going to start creating the under part of my nail. So all I did was just scale it inwards. I'm going to lower it down just like that. And that's essentially the area below our fingernail, like right under it. I'm then going to take another extrusion. I'm going to bring it up. And I'm going to kind of push it forward. I'm going to just adjust it so that it fits nicely. Don't want it too high. And here we kind of adjust as we need. So in this case, that looks pretty good. I might lower this vertex a little bit. So bring that down, bring that down. These are all just kind of like personal preferences. This I'm going to bring in a little bit. If I smooth it out, you can see that fingernail kind of start to take shape. And it all really depends on how far you want that fingernail to come out. Like in this case, the character's nail is pretty cut pretty thin. So what I'll end up doing is I'll kind of take these and adjust them as I need to really just shape out the fingernail a little bit better. So I take that, kind of go in there. That looks pretty good. And we're just going to leave it just like that. And that's going to be our rough fingernail shape. Let me round this a little bit better. Yeah, it looks better. And here we have one finger done. So in the next video, I'll show you how to create the other fingers. See you there.